Lauren. I am that awkward plant girl, and this is the channel where we talk about all the planty awesomeness. We talk about planty awesomeness. We're all about the planty awesomeness. There we go. Where we're all about the planty awesomeness. And today I want to discuss with you about humidity and plants that love humidity, like ferns and calathea and the diva plants that throw absolute conniption fits and get crispy bits everywhere when we don't give them what they need. So let's talk about why plants like ferns and calathea and lorantaceae. Let's talk about why they actually love and need humidity, why they are humidity-loving plants. Because on the underside of their leaves, they actually absorb humidity. They absorb little teeny tiny microscopic drops of water. And that's how they breathe, and they ingest nutrients from the water. That's why you'll hear that rainwater is really good for these types of plants, because it has those extra nutrients and vitamins and minerals in it for them. And they'll absorb that. They absorb it through their roots, but they also have stoma on the bottom of their leaves, which are essentially like pores that they'll soak in all of this awesome humidity. And if they get too much, they will suffocate. They can't breathe. So high humidity loving plants, they don't want 100% humidity. Majority of them do not want 100% plus humidity. They don't want to be immersed in water. They love humidity. They don't love to be drowned, essentially. So we've got to find that balance. And ideally, for most humidity-loving houseplants, they don't want more than 80%. In between 45 and 75% is normally the average range. I mean, you'll have your alocasias and those kind of plants that are gonna super love a bit more humidity, but it really depends on the plant how much, and you'll just have to figure out what's going to work for your particular plant in your particular area. Some type of a meter that is going to register the humidity that you have in your home, and you're going to want to figure out what type of humidity it is normally, and then once you figure that out, you can go ahead and decide what method for humidity is going to work best for you. If you're going to have a high humidity loving plant, it's going to depend on where you live and how much humidity you have. So you get your meter, you figure out exactly what humidity you have and how much you're going to have to raise your humidity by. Okay, so once you do that, then you can go ahead and decide which of these 13 methods I'm going to give you today is going to raise it enough for you to be able to keep your plants happy and healthy and keep you sane. Because it's definitely no fun to spend hours and hours misting a plant and then still have it have crispy bits. Nobody wants to do that. It is frustrating. It is very frustrating. I've been there, I've done that. I figured out the methods that are going to help make our plants happier, and I wanted to share them with you today. So let's go ahead and talk about that, okay? Okay, option number one is obviously going to be a humidifier. You can get big ones, you can get little ones if you have a big house or a little house. If you live in Arizona where everything is super dry, you're gonna have calathea that are gonna be super cranky, and you're not gonna have any water to give them. It's very dry there. So you're going to want an actual humidifier that is going to break down water droplets and spread them through your home on a regular. You just plug it in, fill it with water. They'll have big tanks and little tanks. It just really depends on what size your house is and what size the room is, that how much space you're going to need to fill with humidity. If you live in an area like Washington State, where I'm at, where it's 40% humidity naturally, we're just chilling here with a bunch of humidity. It's not that dry at all. So we don't have to raise the humidity that much here. And if you live in an area like that, where you don't have to, you can go ahead and lump your plants together, just put them next to each other, put them close to each other. They'll all give off their own little moisture, and it'll help contain the humidity in that area. because it's not escaping and running all over the place and going throughout your home. So they'll put off their own little bit of humidity and from what you've watered and whatnot. And this is if you don't need to raise the humidity in the area very much. This is just like 5% extra humidity type of deal. It's not like, you know, a big 20% difference, right? If you do this, you have to be considerate of pests. And I don't mean like you have to open up an open bar for your pests when I say considerate. I mean you have to consider that there are pests that's going to be on one plant and they could potentially spread to your other plants. So you have to make sure that you're treating your plants and you're paying very close attention if you're going to lump them together to raise this humidity. It's definitely not something you should do if you're not 100% sure that this plant doesn't have spider mites and it's not going to spread these lovely spider mites over here to this other plant, you know. So you just got to take that into consideration and pay very close attention to that if you want to use this method. You can get pebble trays and stick them under your plants just like you would a saucer. And you want to put your plant on top of that so it's not sitting in water, not constantly soaking up the water, but you put water in it with the pebbles. Is you can make your own terrarium. You can put it in some type of a jar, you can cover it with a pot lid or plastic wrap, or, you know, I actually have one that I am just covering with a plastic plant saucer. 50-cent plant saucer, it works. But old fish tanks, anything that's just going to contain that humidity, but you still want your plants to be able to breathe. You still want to be able to get some type of airflow through there, because if you don't have airflow, then you are going to run into issues with mold, mildew, black spot, fungal and bacterial issues. It can get bad. So you have to pay attention and you have to stay on top of your plants if you're going to choose this method. A terrarium is going to be too much for some plants. It'll just raise the humidity too much and then they'll start to suffer for it because they'll drown. They won't be able to breathe. So you have to be aware of the type of plants that you're putting in a terrarium. That's why you'll see certain plants are labeled, like there's certain mosses and whatnot that are labeled to go into terrariums. It's because they like that higher humidity. But you can have an open terrarium where you don't cover it and you don't put a lid on it, and you can put your little calathea in there, your little mako, or your white fusion, or whatever. Number 5 on the list is actually you place it in a room that already has high humidity. So if you're always in your kitchen, you're always cooking and boiling things in there, and it's super high humidity in there, test it out, try it out. You can get the meters and just bring it in there and see what it is on a regular. It might be high enough for your plants already, depending on your habits. A bathroom is another place. If you shower, or you have, like me, you have 4 or 5 people taking baths and showers every day in your one bathroom, then it's going to be pretty high humidity in there. And you can go ahead and shove your plant in there and not even have to worry about it. It'll be thrilled. So, plus then you get to oogle your plant. And, you know, shower with it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that's another option for you. Number 6 is a diffuser. You can get a diffuser for about $20. Just don't put your essential oils in it. You can actually probably find them for less than that now. But don't put your essential oils in it because it will go all over your plants. If you have it next to your plant like that, it'll spray it on there. And then if you have it in sun or a high grow light, it can actually burn your plant's leaves. So you don't want to do that. We like our plants. We want them to be happy. That's the whole point of doing the humidity thing, right? So that's not a good idea, but you can use the diffuser just as a tiny humidifier for inexpensive in a very small area, a couple of feet. I do it in like a 4-foot area. It works on my mantle. So I have my ferns there and they really like the diffuser right there. Alright, so number 7, you can change your habits to make a happier environment and a more humid environment. You can air dry your clothes. so that your clothes will actually put off humidity in your laundry room, or if you have an open space type of deal, you can do that. You can air dry your dishes. It'll evaporate and go up into the air and make more humidity for you. You can boil water. You can open your dishwasher. You can make sure that you're hand washing dishes and you have, you make the humidity in those particular rooms. You can use less things that will take away from the humidity as well. I know in the wintertime, a lot of people will turn on their heat super high and it'll suck all of the humidity out of the air. Or you'll have a dehumidifier on, which takes the humidity out of the air. It's supposed to be like an air filter type of deal, which is kind of cool and really fantastic to have, especially with all of the COVID concerns and stuff. But you have to consider that it is going to be taking moisture from the air, and it won't necessarily be giving it back either. So you have to be aware of the habits in your home. So are your habits plant friendly? If humidity is a concern, and it might not be for everybody, but if you're watching this, it probably is a concern. And if it is a concern for you, then you need to be aware of the habits that you are doing to put humidity into the air in your home and to take it away. Because if you're not aware, you could be making extra money, extra time, extra effort, and extra stress on yourself just by daily habits. I mean, if opening your dishwasher and letting your dishes air dry and letting the steam come out is going to be just enough to make the plants in your kitchen a little bit more happy, you can shove some ferns on a windowsill, not have to spend money on a humidifier, then it can really save you, okay? So that is another option for you. Okay, so number 8, next on the list, number 8 is going to be like you can make an enclosure like a cloche, I think that's how you say it, I'm not even sure, C-L-O-C-H-E, like a cloche, the thing from Beauty and the Beast that he puts over the rose. Yeah, that thing. One of those. You can shove one of those over your plant. It's kind of like a terrarium, but it's not the same thing. You can also use wide-mouthed jars, depending on the size of your plant. You can get those big, giant size pickle jars, eat all the pickles, and then totally just plop it over your plants. And ta-da! And that will contain the humidity. It's very similar to a terrarium, but not the same exact thing because it comes off instead of you having to lift your plants out. It also changes the watering a little bit. Number 9 on the list is a greenhouse, okay? If you go over to Planterior Decorator, she has a giant thing on how to IKEA hack greenhouses. You can get your little plastic covered greenhouses that you keep inside or outside, whatever works, whatever you need. But you can get those ones and you can put all your plants in them and it'll keep the humidity contained in that little area because it won't be able to escape from the plastic. So it raises the humidity and then the sun will come in and or grow lights. But if you don't have airflow in there and you don't open it up occasionally, then you're going to run into the similar problems that we talked about before. You're going to have the black spot, you're going to have fungus, and just bacterial and just yuck, just super yuck. So just make sure that you're opening it up and you're taking care of your plants. And make sure that you don't make the humidity too high in there, because again, if you make the humidity too high in there by adding a humidifier or something in there to raise the humidity even more, then your plants are not going to be able to breathe and you're going to have edema and a whole bunch of other problems with that. Okay, so just pay attention to what your plants need and don't overdo it and don't underdo it. It's a good option for you if you have a large amount of plants that you are trying to raise the humidity for and you want to kind of keep them contained. Like for example, I'm getting a greenhouse for myself so that I can get plants and keep them away from my little sticky finger munchkins and raise the humidity. Number 10, you can get a water fountain for your house. And it doesn't have to be a big one, it can just be a little one. But the water will evaporate from the water fountain and it will raise the humidity slightly in the room that it's in for you. A mug warmer or a candle warmer, similar to these ones right here. essentially you can get some type of a jar that's heat resistant, or you can have a mug of water and just put it on there. You can get them at the dollar store. You can get a dollar mug that you like, and then you can get the mug warmer and just sit it there and it will evaporate. Now again, this is for a small area. So if you're not trying to fill a whole room with humidity and you're just trying to fill a small area, I'm talking like maybe a 6x6 area, or nothing too big, or just a bookshelf area or something, then it'll be there for you. And it'll look kind of cool, inexpensive, cool, easy. Okay, number 12, a crock pot. You can take a crock pot, you can leave the lid off just a tiny bit, set it in the room, plug it in, turn it on warm, and it will evaporate all of the water for you, okay? So it'll evaporate the water out and make steam, and then it will be floating and humidifying your air for you. So that way your plants get to soak up the water that they need. So a crock pot, easy peasy. I have my munchkin. You can actually unhook your dryer vents and set up a special filtration process. It's pretty inexpensive. It's just not going to work for every single home, but you can unplug your dryer vents and then have it re-vent through a filter back into your home. So the moisture that your clothes are producing while they're drying can actually come back into your home. Not something that's going to work for everyone, and obviously if you don't have a dryer unit in your home, then you're not going to be able to do it. But I thought it was pretty awesome and definitely something worth mentioning. Right, hear me out. I know I sound crazy. Everywhere says that you should be misting your plants. Okay, you'll get the care card in the mail from the plant nursery. All right, you'll go and you'll talk to people that are actually in greenhouses, and they'll say, oh yeah, we mist our plants all the time. The difference is though, your home is contained. Your home is completely contained. You don't have fans blowing all over the place. You don't use fungicides and herbicides and insecticides. You don't have high-grade stuff that you're spraying on your plants all the time to kill all of the stuff that comes with misting. So your plants are going to get black spot, mildew, you'll get fungus in your pots, okay? I live in a high humidity area without that, so I can tell you from personal experience that there's fungus and molds and all kinds of stuff growing if you don't actually take care to get proper ventilation. So when these nurseries say, go ahead, mist your plants, constantly keep everything moist 24/7 and let water sit on your plants, it's not going to work. It's going to cause you problems. Okay, I've given you 13 different ways to actually raise the humidity for your plants. I hope that some of them are feasible for you. I hope that they work a little bit better for you. And I know some of you are probably sitting here saying, but I missed my plants and they seem happier. Yes, they're going to seem happier because they are sitting in a desert and you're giving them drops of water. Okay, that is not living its best life though. It's not the same. Just not gonna work. So please, please, please make sure that you are properly humidifying your plants. Okay, putting humidity and water in the air for the stoma of your plants to soak up and absorb and go through their proper process just like they would if they were outside. Okay? And I think that's about it. I think that's everything. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really, really appreciate it. And it's very nice. I love to talk to planty people about planty things, so I'm very excited for this YouTube journey. And I am excited to share my ideas and my ways of fixing things for you guys. I'm a natural problem solver, so I'm pretty stoked and excited to be able to come up with solutions and share them. And I hope that these humidity solutions really helped you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Right, go ahead and subscribe for that planty vibe and like this video if you found it helpful. Comment down below which one is going to work for you, and if you've heard of these before. Have you heard of these? Have you thought of these? Have you tried these? Let me know. Okay, thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Appreciate it.